Moo and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pink Tron. I am Brent Robinson and joined by today John Keenan. John, what are you drinking?
Well, I got back on the wagon or off the wagon. I don't know what the metaphor is, but I found in Whole Foods Red Bull with only one vowel, two B's, Rishi chocolate mushroom extract something. So we'll see how this goes.
On the mushroom wagon.
On the
Yeah.
mushroom wagon. Yeah,
John's back on the shrooms.
back on the shrooms. That's the best way to put it.
I thought at first you said Red Bull. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, Red Bull, REBBL. Never seen it before, but in my search for quark, post discussion of fueling and nutrition, I thought, oh, I'll go look for quark at the local Whole Foods. Came
Did
up
you find
empty,
it?
but I
Oh,
did find Rebel. So
there you go.
silver lining.
Very good.
What
We
what
also have, oh, go ahead, Steph.
was about to say? What would a Red Bull mushroom flavored beverage
Oh,
smell like?
yeah.
Or it tastes like probably bad as regular Red Bull, but
And that is Steph Etjen. Steph, what are you drinking?
after last week's Fanta Orange, I'm back on the trusty Fanta Lemon.
Yeah, we should have posted in the comments those colors of the drinks. That was actually rather enlightening for those who haven't seen this. Steph posted a picture of like European soft drinks and North American soft drinks, and the North American ones look like they're lit by neon
They're
lights, like they're
electrically
crazy
powered.
radioactive.
I I'm gonna, just refute that with nothing but iron brew.
Oh, yeah.
But Iron Brew is not as bright as that Fanta Orange. Like that's the
It's
thing.
not. No.
Like
It's
that's the thing.
it's an odd color though.
It is, and that is Craig Martin. Craig, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Moosehead Small Batch East Coast IPA.
Nice. And we also have Sean Fogenberg. Sean, what are you drinking?
Racing later, so joining the boring train with a raspberry lime sparkling water.
Very nice, very nice. And potentially, I don't know, could you hear me, Maryline? Still joining. All right. Well, I'll say I have a Deca lime vodka soda in a can. I don't. It's what I had in my fridge.
Deca. Is this so whenever we do actually race on Deca Dash, we know what you're gonna be drinking.
Yeah, there you go. It's actually made. So it's actually made by Big Rock Brewery, which is a local brewery here in Calgary. Sure. Not sure I knew, but
We're not drinking one every lap, are we? On
Every 5 minutes.
boy,
yeah.
that would be a
10
drink.
minutes. Wow.
We were doing 7 minutes laps, I think, on Deca Dash in mine. So yeah, 10 drinks in 70 minutes. That would be unpleasant. That would be unpleasant. All right. You know what else is unpleasant? Yorkshire and Yorkshire weather. So I've heard. I've never been, but that's the thing I've heard. And we are doing this week in Yorkshire for HWR. It's called Yorkshire Double Loop. I've got that right.
Yeah, so the Yorkshire Double Loops course is about 30K, 29.6K with 547 meters of climbing, even though, I mean, this is every time we get out in Yorkshire, this is what happens. It's like, it doesn't seem like there's that much, there's no big climbs, but you're going up or down the whole
Yeah,
time.
what was about to say there is no flat in that course, I think.
So this one does the Yorkshire KOM reverse early on in the race, and then finishes in the last 5K with the Yorkshire KOM forward, and then finishes on the KOM reverse. Um, so very like hard to begin, hard to end, some rolling in the middle.
Yeah. And KOM reverse is the one that comes like the right hand turn straight when you come out of like the Queens Highway loop, and then it's the steep
Yep.
little right hand bit,
Yep.
and then kind of like 3-4%, and then a little flat layoff. And that's when you think you're like, oh, this isn't so bad. And then it does like 6% for another 2 minutes.
Yep.
Right hand turn to finish. That's a tough fin. That's a really, really hard finish. Boy. Maryline, did you race? Oh, she's still drinking tea. She's thinking about it. She might unmute in a second.
See if we can get there.
There we go.
Well, she unmuted herself on the Zoom, but not on her microphone. So still can't hear her.
Podcasting at its finest. Anyone
Yeah.
else? Anyone else race yet? I missed it
Uh,
by a minute.
No, so there were several of us signed up and none of us did it.
No.
No,
So I think
I
Maryline,
missed it.
John, Brent, and I were all signed up. Craig, had you signed up also?
I did. So I fan viewed it. I was actually going to race, but I'm finally sick of riding without a chamois because I still haven't found my bike stuff after moving.
What?
So what?
Yeah,
You
I would have
found
been
your
sick of
bikes.
that after one ride.
Oh no, I'm mostly good. It's just I haven't been riding much really. But anyway, so I went over to Mech, but I didn't get back quite in time. Or I got back just in time that had I walked in the door, gotten changed, and gotten on the bike, I might have made the start. Like, yeah, maybe not.
You might have needed a warm up for that one.
Or at least to
That's-
get water.
That too. It looked like a spicy group.
Yeah, so it sounds like at least a few of us watched it. How did that go?
That
Sounded hard.
was hard. It was a really good watch, actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, like if you're gonna tell somebody to watch a Zwift race who likes to watch outdoor cycling, they're going to get this, and it's going to look exciting. Like Matt's stream was really good.
Yeah. Crazy people in that race.
Oh, that top 11, and I mean they dropped Gracely, who so it ended up being a top 10, but it was man, were they going hard? And like you look at their average watts are high, but not completely ridiculous. But they were way above that every time it was going uphill. No, it was
4.3, 4.4 for 44 minutes. Like that's 42 minutes. That's pretty up there. 5.0 for 42 minutes.
well 5.2.
Yeah, the winner, but number three was 5.0.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean like that whole group. I mean, yeah, 4.2 and up, and that was just 4.2 and up to be in that group, and I think all of them were 5 watts a kilogram, 5 minutes, and or up to 6.3. Yeah, no,
And looks like for normalized, doing like the third place rider did 5.4 normalized for 42 minutes.
yeah,
So yeah, tough
No,
race this week.
that was a hard. Those guys were just kicking each other. It was because yeah, Adrian kept attacking, but then he didn't, and Charlie Proctor did, and then TJ was an absolute beast. He was closing gaps. Yeah, no, that was quite the race.
Well, like you say, there's so many not little, but not long hills. So were they just attacking each other on every sort of 1, 2, 3 minute climb?
They were
And
definitely
just
pushing it, but
places,
yeah.
anywhere.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because I think they had 2.5 minutes on the group that was Dan Manello, Dan Shermento from Dirt, Mark McKinnon from Herd. Like that group was 2.5 minutes behind.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It must have
So
broken up early, eh? Because it's straight into the KOM.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, the it was straight out on that first KOM. the orange numbers were appearing. It was yeah, they weren't messing around.
Or were they able to make a gap with the second group then? Actually cleave them off?
Well, so it kind of strung out actually. So it starts with reverse KOM, right? So like you go down, you leave the pens, turn left, downhill, up reverse KOM.
Mhm.
Yep.
So on reverse KOM, it strung out quite a lot, and then it kind of knit back together into that group of, well, yeah, a group of 10 um, chasing one guy basically is what it turned into. Then they eventually caught him, and anyway, he got away again and again.
From this, any suggestions on how to race it? I think that this is one where that first climb is really going to tell you what group you should be riding in.
Yeah, I mean, don't give up is one, because I saw a guy fairly big gaps close because there's a lot of uphill. So I'd say don't give up. Go hard on hills and get into the fastest group you can. Most guys, even those fast guys, most of that front group weren't on disc wheels.
Hmm.
Oh, really?
So, well, that's with the uphill finish difference, right? I think
Yes.
with a flat finish, I think they would have been.
That's interesting.
Scorekeeper do a pin swap?
I assume so. He appeared to be on a steel bike. Yeah,
Oh, good, good.
he wasn't on a TT bike, but he appeared to be on the Zwift Steel. So he seems to really like that.
It is his favorite move. Or hers. We don't actually know.
We don't. I'm going to assume.
All right. Good. So get out. 6 more race times left. It's a new route. So I think there's a route badge, right? So a new route badge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, oh, there's Maryline.
Hi, Meyerland.
Hi.
Hey, did you race? You didn't get in?
I didn't race HWR, but I did race the FRR team trial events.
Oh yeah, we'll come back to that one in the end. So we'll
Yeah,
get on that. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking tea because it
Tea.
was really, really cold in the garage, so I needed to warm up after racing.
You might be able to tell from his outfit that Brent was also cold.
Yeah.
Still am cold. Good, good. All right. Herd beginner racing is Deuce France. 1 lap.
Yep.
One lap. 1 lap, all categories, I believe.
Yep, that's what Nate sent me or put in the chat.
And Deuce France is the
Reverse RG.
into the intestines first.
Yes.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for that. That's a bit rolly and bumpy, but then it's a nice flat finish. Mostly just stay in the group and try and win the sprint.
Yeah. So I'd say it's definitely worth going really hard through those first few rollers to try and stay in the fastest group you can possibly hook onto, because you'll have a whole bunch of drafting time after that.
Yep. Be ready to go hard up the aqueduct, although I think this is the slightly easier way to hang on up
It
the
is.
aqueduct.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's not as stepped. It's not as steep, flat on the approach to the aqueduct this way. Yeah.
Agreed. Good. All right. Climber's Gambit, Steph.
Yeah. Final week of the All Corners of Watopia series. Originally set it up as temporary on Volcano, but luckily with the new Jarvis on routes, I changed it to the Jarvis KOM reverse, which is the step stairy one. Basically, 1.3 kilometers at 3-ish%, mostly rolly with 2 steeper parts, one halfway through it, and then real kicker at the end before a bit of a flat finish, a couple of 100-meter flats. But yeah, final week and numbers still pretty good. So
Nice. Yeah, if you've done the Decadash route as part of Tour Watopia, which of course is one of the new routes, you've done this now 10 times. So that's the
yeah,
climb.
Yep.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And was first I was thinking, oh, there's a sprint before it, but yeah, luckily on Swift Power. Realized that it's set up to slowest segment, and then yeah, a sprint doesn't really matter with a climb behind it. So
good. Yeah, I think the one thing I'd say after having done that Decadash is the second ramp is considerably steeper and longer than the first one. Like
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
the first little bit kind of does 2-3, and then it maybe goes to like 5 or 6, but in that second one it gets up to like 8, 9, 10%. So you
yeah,
definitely want to save some gas to hit that second one. And I say this as having done that my tour of Watopia, 2 guys would go in front of me every time and I would catch them in the second half because I'd always save my feather and then I'd catch them
yeah.
for whatever reason. Good. How much warm up do people need to warm up? How much space do they got before the climb starts?
It's about 4.8 kilometers. So depending on how slow you go, maybe a little bit of warm up beforehand, but can be done. You can do a second part of your warm up en route.
And it looks like it's flat enough that and short enough. This has got to be a TT bike, like full TT, full disc. Like it's 3% average. Brent, it looks like you did a 219 on it, which was like 21 miles an hour.
Yep,
30,
that's probably right.
34. So you just got to kick through the steep bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, the steep bits are short enough to really punch those
Yeah.
and keep the speed up between them, because then I think it even goes a little bit downhill.
Yeah, after that first pinch, it goes a
Yeah.
bit of downhill, 1 or 2%. But
I think I like this. I like this climb.
Yeah,
It's interesting. It's a really good one for Glamor's Gambit. It's
agreed.
Mini TT kind of thing. Yep.
Herd of mountain goats remains ever a mystery. Anyone, any insights?
So
Bear with
right
me,
now
folks.
on Zwift, it is still big foothills. So we'll see.
Okay, and you're looking at the stampede is off, right? It's up one line, Craig.
Ah,
That was my bad, but I fixed it. I fixed the dates anyway, but the lines don't line up, so we got to move that around. But anyway, this week on Stampede it is Radio Rendezvous. It's actually gonna be
Listen to what we said last week.
yeah, it's actually gonna be Alan Richardson and I did like some recon, and it's actually gonna be longer. It's gonna be 14.9 kilometers, and that is like right at the bottom of the grade on that first one. Because there's a 3K lead in.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
so that's it. You don't have to go up the grade. Don't be looking at this thing on the thing, worried about it. It's basically from the grade pens out to the turn to Mayan, up by Danitza, down the grade, and finish right at the bottom of the grade. Just kind of a fun finish, I think.
But if you want, you could continue for that route badge, right?
And you could continue for that route badge if you don't have it. That is also part of the plan for a little cooldown.
One could.
a very long
and you will go up the
cooldown.
grade and all the way up to the radio tower. All right, bullseye, Craig.
So bullseye, we are on LaGuardia Loop Reverse, which is one of my all-time favorite bullseye courses. So this is the.
Does it have the kicker before the sprint, the uphill kicker before the sprint, or is
No, this is the clockwise direction.
oh, it's it's slightly uphill, but not really a kicker before the sprint. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like the right hand turn into it, right? You can't really see it. It's kind of like around the bend.
Yeah. So as you pass, basically the sprint is shortly after you pass the turn up to the glass roads.
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah, it's a really this is a really good route for bullseye. I think
Mm.
the finish is fast. So
Mm.
yeah, it's going to be in the draft, kick on timing, and have fun.
5 laps, 6 sprints.
5 laps, 6 sprints. The lead in will count. Yes.
Good. And that is your week in herd racing. I know we go. Well, I think let's talk about. I think normally we do news, but let's talk about in the news the FR. What is it? Flamme Rouge Racing FRR team trials, or what's that? What it's called? Is anyone else planning to do it besides Maryline? Hi, Maryline.
No.
Steve was signed up as well, I
Yes,
think.
Steve was
Yeah,
signed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Steve did it
he
too.
praised it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Steve, Mark, John, lots of people were in it, but I have
Yeah.
no knowledge.
It's a team event, so there are teams of five, and it's a trial event for the Fearless Team Championships, which are in a few weeks. That's a women only race, and this one is mixed. And the teams of five are there's two people with a sprinter role, two people with a climber role, and one GC rider. And yeah, you score points on the segments that are similar to your role. So it's a little bit different tactically than the normal races. So that's it was a fun thing to try.
How confusing was it?
Really confusing. Also because not all the segments were used, so it was constantly a game of is this segment for points or don't we have to do it? So
That reminds me of the
yeah,
TFC Mad Monday was always like that too.
yeah, and there were some people. The first sprint it was on Makkeljen. So the first sprint out of the pen wasn't a segment, but there were some people who were still going there, of course. And some other and during the race, lots of people were asking, is this a points segment or not? And so we weren't the only team that was confused about this, but yeah, I think everyone had some fun. So
So if you were a
nice thing to
sprinter,
try.
if you were a sprinter or a climber, did your finish time matter at all, or only the GC person matter?
The GC person scored double points on the finish. And the sprinter and climbers scored points on the climber scored points on the climbs and also on the finish line, I think.
Okay.
But not double points. So I think everyone the maximum amount of points every rider could get was 200 points.
I think I like the concept. It's a little contrived, but I think I like it. Um, super complex, but
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
it's I think like all the FRR races, it's quite complex,
Yeah.
but it's a fun thing to try, and yeah, I hope it will be done. It will be good for the Fearless Team Championships. I'm not sure if I want to do the same course again in a few weeks,
Are the
Yeah.
but
points
yeah,
are the points for the sprinters and the climbers by time on the segments or position?
time on the segments.
Okay. Interesting.
So there were a lot of sprinters who were
Way off the back. Yeah.
off the back, and a lot of climbers were able to stay with the GC riders to the finish.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was watching Vicky's stream. Was one in one of the other categories, and yeah, she was with the front group as a climber, but there were mostly climbers, a sprinter dedicated to rider from the herd, some GC riders, but yeah, it was all dangled up after the. I think after the first climb, after the first skirt was just broken up into pieces.
Was
Yeah, in
the
our race too. Yeah.
the climb was the Zgur's gravel side?
Yeah. Yeah, and the Skur
And people
The
can
other
ride
side.
gravel
gravel and
bikes?
the north and the south side, both.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. It was both.
No,
Yeah,
the
Macaulay does all the basically all the routes in Scotland, anyways, from all directions. I think.
Oh yeah, but I didn't realize they
yeah.
were both gonna count. That was all.
Yeah,
Because I mean, Skirt North, if I was the climber guy, I'd be thinking about taking my gravel bike.
Yeah, but you got assigned bikes in the
Oh, it's
FRR.
assigned
So
bikes.
yeah.
Oh, well,
So
that's less fun already too.
everyone was on the same bike.
Mhm.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, that's
So
cool. Well,
is the breakaway Bray a sprint or a climb? Like, must
Yeah,
be
the
a
yeah,
sprint.
sprints were more climbs than sprints. So the sprinters had to do breakaway bray forward, I
Champion
think.
sprint.
No, it was the
Champion sprint didn't count, remember?
no, that one didn't count. The
Okay.
what's
the cl-
before the champion sprint?
The Clyde
The
kicker.
Clyde kicker. Yeah,
The Clyde kicker counted for the sprinters?
yeah.
That's fair. Okay. I mean,
Time wise.
it's you're only getting up that fast if you can sprint.
Um, if yeah, but you're getting up fast if you're sprint and you're little.
Eh,
I don't know. I'm sure I've been dropped by big guys there who can do like 1400 watts.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's super fun. And this is a series going for how many weeks, or is this just a
No,
one-off?
it's
Or
a one-off event.
one-off?
Okay.
Hmm.
So
Good
Mark
deal.
John coordinated the teams, and he used some of the old TTT names. So I wasn't heard of Cheetahs, and I think there was a herd of dolphins also. Some more TTT names and old ZRL names.
Hmm.
So I have to ask, did the cheetahs get mixed up with the crows? And
No, there were no crows, so we couldn't get mixed up with him.
yeah.
Good. Well, that's super fun. All right. Our round the horn we wanted to talk about is there was some news out of Strava this week that they are revising their API to change the way that third-party apps can handle data that comes out of Strava, which I think mostly doesn't actually affect Zwift going in per se. There's not a lot of data that comes out of Strava and goes into Zwift. But if you're a Zwifter, what likely you have is some other app that collects up data that comes into Strava and goes out of Strava that you've written in Zwift. So like Strava and Zwift have an API. You do whatever workout you do in Zwift. Strava collects up that data in the API, and then there's a whole world of apps that don't take the data straight out of Strava, but take it out of, or sorry,
Or
don't take it straight out of
Zwift.
Zwift, but they collect it out of Strava because Strava kind of agglomerates all kinds of different types of data. And so
Mhm.
all those, well, there's a whole bunch of different rule changes they're making about that. You can't analyze it. Well, I guess we'll get into this. So the one change is one, you can't use any AI or analytics on it. That's one. The other one
Up my trainer
is,
road.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, you can't display your Strava data activity
To anyone else.
to anyone
yeah,
else. Yeah.
Which
Bye-bye, fellow
good
viewer.
yeah, goodbye Velo viewer, goodbye coaching.
Yep.
yeah. That was the
Oh,
main
oh
point
yeah.
I got.
So
Yes,
I might
coaches
have
can't be
combined.
your.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, which is kind of a weird one, and you can't make it look like it came from Strava, which I guess is actually pretty fair. Um, but then I might have combined two together. So you can't use it to like train the AI. That's one thing, right? So
Yeah.
you can't like use the data to go train your AI to do a bunch of stuff, and then you can't do like analytics on the data and then present that back. Like that's kind of what a lot of these
Yeah.
apps might do. Like they might, so for example, like intervals.iu whatever will take like data out of Strava and then put it back in and show what your like watt prime balance is and all this other kind of
Yeah.
sort of information. Can't do that now. So those are the kind of the three things that Strava is now putting the kibosh on. So I know there was a clarification that came out and Strava said this only affects 0.1% of users, but listen,
The applications,
yeah,
not necessarily of the
sorry,
users.
sorry,
Yeah.
I got that backwards. 0.1% of the users, but listen, I'm no pro at all this stuff, but this is what uh, DC Rainmaker had to say about that, who is the guy I do trust well. He says, that's
Yeah.
the most disingenuous way of writing it. Strava has tens of thousands of connected applications, the vast majority of which are tiny hobbyist applications that may have one user or a handful of users. And so it's the big ticket applications that matter here with the most users. Strava isn't saying 0.1% of users, just 0.1% of applications.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
And the ones that
Now,
are going to be affected most likely are the ones that have tens of thousands of users, like Trainer Road, like intervals.icu,
exert.
But
Exert.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like training, I know Training Peaks Kanka has a direct connection between Zwift and Training
yeah,
Peaks, and the intervals guy is trying to do something similar that you can directly link intervals.icu with Swift, so it gets that data,
yeah,
which is basically
he's already got something interesting with Dropbox as an intermediary, but
yeah,
yeah, he's going through the front door with Zwift now.
yeah,
Um, now, so Dave, I think, is the guy at intervals.icu. He posted something yesterday. So he did have a call with Swift, and they said, "Oh yeah, no, we don't mean coaching." Well, but that's
With Strava
like
or
Strava. Yeah. So
yeah.
Strava said, "Yeah, oh no, we don't mean coaching." So
Yeah, well, that was as long as my understanding from reading the DC Rainmaker articles is that, yeah, we don't mean coaching. It just means like the coach can see the data. They're not allowed to like create a dashboard or some sort of report or anything in the software that goes back to the athlete. That would be offside.
yeah, no, it's it so yeah, it this seems to give Strava the hammer where anybody they don't like they can turn off. Um, that that is basically what this. Basically, everything is now illegal, but we'll tolerate some people,
Right.
and that seems to be the tack they've taken. This is a thing businesses do, right? Like, oh no, that's not allowed, but we'll let you do it. Um, so anyway, I'm not a fan of this. And the
Wow.
only thing I've been using Strava for is as a data link for the past 3 years.
To put it in
Um,
intervals.
yeah, so I think I'm going to fully delete my Strava account.
I guess you don't have paid. Any who here uses paid Strava? Because I don't have paid Strava. Sean's got it stuff. Yeah.
I use it.
Maryline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use paid
Oh
Strava
yes,
because I'm cheap and I don't like.
I
Eh.
looked at it and it's just not, I didn't like their displays, their analysis. I just didn't think it was very good. It wasn't working
No.
for to me.
So I think that that's actually going to be like as long as I can still see um segment times and like leaderboards, then I think I don't need paid stuff because I do all of the analysis stuff myself, like
Yeah.
offline on Golden Cheetah, and on intervals.icu. So like, and I use a Garmin, so I can and I use
Yeah.
that for every ride. And
Yep.
so it all goes through Strava right now, but it doesn't need to. The only thing that would be nice is if Intervals gets their Zwift link set up so that I get distance, because I don't get distance when I
Yes.
record a thing on my Garmin for an
Yep.
inside ride.
Mm.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, there's that. I mean, I have everything come through Garmin that will, so
Yeah.
Zwift won't, because Strava actually strips a bunch of data out before they send it to Intervals. And so, I mean, this is a me thing and my own personality, but I stopped looking at segments deliberately 3 years ago because it was making me train worse.
Right.
So yeah, to me the segments are a negative value. So I haven't actually been looking at anything. It's only been it's
Yeah.
been a data link
So
for
for me
a long time.
specifically, it ends up being for things like this where it's like, okay, how do we pace? What times are we expecting for A's, B's, C's, and D's in Climber's Gambit?
Yeah,
Is like my main.
but
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean that's in Zwift Power too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in terms of my personal stuff, like honestly, I see it shows up, and I kind of like I look at totals and stuff like that a little bit, but otherwise it's just like, oh, what are my friends doing today? And I
Mhm.
scroll through and I give them some kudos, and that's about all I really do with it. Once in a while, I'll look at like my historical segment times. So does it? Does Zwift have a direct Garmin link, Craig? Because that's usually where I look at most of my stuff is in Garmin Connect.
So Zwift will go to Garmin, but Garmin won't pass the Zwift
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Intervals.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I haven't looked this up, but I wonder if Sauce for Zwift is affected since it does analysis, but it does analysis and puts it directly on your Strava. So it's like you're on that page. So like presumably they would like
Oh no,
it better than.
that's not Sauce for Zwift. That's Sauce for
Oh,
Strava.
sorry. Yeah, sauce for Strava. Sorry.
Yes,
Oh,
but Sauce. Yes,
Yeah,
same guy.
Strava sauce.
Yeah.
Because like actually some of the stuff that I like the best on any page that I open up on Strava is actually
Is the Sauce
sauce
guy.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
interesting.
No, you're
Yeah.
not wrong. Technically, it should. The thing is, he's an add-on, not really his own application. There's a bit of, yeah, there's definitely an argument for them to ignore him on this.
Yeah.
What does Strava think they're getting out of this? Like they're protecting all this data that they're gonna like then launch their own giant
So
AI system,
Yeah.
or
And
they
data.
think that Brent and I are going to get paid Strava instead of deleting our Strava accounts. I don't know what Brent's going to do, but I'm going to just get rid of them completely
I mean,
as soon as Intervals has
I'll
a Zwift
probably still keep mine because,
interface.
like I said, mine is mostly like an endpoint for my other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like my Garmin Connect goes in there, my Swift goes in there. So
right? It's just a record keeping thing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The official explanation has to do with sort of data privacy and data sensitivity and all this other
Sure.
sort of stuff. They say that it's because they think that they want users to be able to control it. You can read DC Raymaker says that's all a bit of nonsense. Like
Yeah,
you know, that you
change
just
your API permissions.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was about like he explained, they want to protect the data, but is thinking, what data? You are only getting data from Zwift, from Garmin, and we pass it through to interval because there's a no other mean, and then you block it on intervals that a coach can't see it.
Yeah,
It
this is
wasn't
the
your
thing
data
that
to begin with.
this is the thing that I think is the weirdest approach is that this is technically all your data anyway.
Yep.
That like
Yeah.
that a lot of the that a lot of the other head units and stuff uh, knew that there were these APIs, and so have never built APIs of their own to be able to pass the data along wherever you need it. And so to limit things like this really does, uh, yeah, I feel like it's kind of shooting themselves in the foot to say, like, well, we know this is your data, but you don't have, like, you can access it, but you can't use it the way that you want because it came through us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give them a little grace in that when you talk about like blocking training an AI model, like if Trainer Road is pulling
Yeah.
anyone's data that subscribes to Trainer Road as Strava to train their AI model, that's not for me, right? I mean, that's for Trainer Road. Let's be frank. Maybe to the extent it's
Yeah.
tweaking whatever for me to like use
But
Trainer Road workouts. And I'm sorry,
no,
Trainer
but
Road, if you're
there,
listening to this, sorry, but
the thing is, I don't think that, so I don't think Trainer Road has access to everyone's Strava. They have access to everyone who has taken their stuff out of Strava and put it in Trainer Road,
Yeah.
which means, like, yeah, actually, like, as a
which means
Trainer
I
Road
already
user, I am
that's
getting,
You're
well, that's the
controlling your data.
well,
yeah,
that's the disingenuousness of it, is that Trainer like easily Trainer Road told me when I clicked yes, please pull my Strava data. Okay, we're gonna use this to train our AI models, and you were okay with it, right? Like I
Hmm.
don't
Yeah.
like I'm only giving them like the brushiest like okay, I guess there's some use of this that isn't specifically for my use in some other app of my data. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
that is not for me, but
I mean, the privacy just
I knew
doesn't
that.
ring true, right? I mean, this was the same company that
No.
they didn't, did they do any changes when like the US military gave a bunch of people Fitbits and all of their routes started showing up and the bad guys just decided, oh, look, I think there's a base right here. Like they didn't jump in and do anything about privacy at that point that I'm aware of.
I don't know. I know that
They
that became a thing. Yeah.
they might have turned on the ability to like well let's be clear, I think it already existed is you can put your Strava data to private
Private.
mode
Right,
and those
right. Maybe
donkeys
that's
didn't,
when it happened. I don't know.
but yes, that was also comical. Yeah, that's the thing is I don't really understand. Like one of my least favorite genres of podcast chatter is the like amateur CEO business analyst, and like everybody does it, right? Like every podcast, like oh, they're clearly trying to like convince this many people to do X, Y, or Z and give them money, and you know that's what Craig's saying is they want you to pay so that you don't. I mean, it only works to Craig's point though is if they start doing the other things, right? Like it only works to stop them. Like they don't want this stuff going through to something like Trainer Road if they're going to offer something like Trainer Road. Do you know what
No,
I mean?
you're right. So honestly, I guess I said that because I can't think of any other motivation for them to do this. So maybe it's just DC Rainmaker's point where the guys at Strava just wake up and decide, how can I piss off my users today?
I mean, maybe
I
they
don't
are.
know.
Maybe they're sitting on a bunch of like, they're sitting on a coaching platform and a coaching platform. I think that's the biggest one, right? I mean, when we talk about Trainer Road, we talk about intervals, we talk about training peaks, we talk about Exert, like those are all like essentially like a coaching platform of some kind, right? And so maybe they're sitting on that, and that's what they're going to do this. They don't want it to look like super skeezy, so they'll do this, and then 6 months later they're going to roll out their own coaching platform that you get access to if you have a paid membership, and then you can get all this stuff, and then they really use this hammer, and it doesn't look so bad.
I
Again,
mean,
I have
maybe,
no
but
friggin' clue.
it that doesn't make sense if they're saying, no, no, we don't mean coaching platforms, intervals, you're okay, and training peaks, you're okay, and like, yeah, no,
Like I
some of
said,
this just doesn't make sense.
they do it today. They roll out the coaching platform in 6 months. They're like, oh, by the way, that API change we made, yeah, that does apply to you
Well, yeah,
now.
I guess, but like, I don't think that makes them look any better then than it would now.
No, no. Like I said, it is really confusing to me as someone who doesn't even really use it for that much stuff. I mean, I've had Trainer Road and that's about it. I think I probably have an intervals account somewhere, but I found it too confusing. So I just got Golden Cheetah and upload my fit files.
Fair.
um, yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, like if you're a a Strava user in the herd and you're listening to this podcast and you're getting all your training stuff, I know like Brian O'Connor, I know you were on Exert. I bet like Kev Fowler, he uses some coaching stuff. I'm sure there's other people who use some coaching stuff. If you're all getting your coaching stuff broken, post in the comments and let us know
Yeah.
what you think is breaking, because it's a confusing one. What did Steve just post in the chat? Is there something we should talk
Oh.
about in there?
Oh, I think it's
Something about
the Swift Racing
change
score
overall plan
update.
for ZRS.
Yeah. So there's an updated page on Zwift Insider that's what's happening with the Zwift Racing score, that is going to be constantly updated with what kinds of thing, like what the projects are
Yeah.
related to Zwift Racing score, where they're at, what the like guesses for launch date are, and like what is still like the potential projects and what has been completed already. And it is actually kind of nice to just look at that list and remind yourself like they've actually been making progress, have come
Oh,
quite a long
yeah.
way, and are like there are still goals to work toward,
Yeah.
to getting categorization working really well.
Yeah. So I'll say I read that article that he posted. So that is basically a transcription of the post from the 18th of November on updates for ZRS with a bunch of Eric Slunge's editorial. It's a good post and it's good content, but yeah, it's not. Sometimes Eric has new data that or new info that nobody else does. This isn't one of those. This is just kind of compiling
Got
and
it.
compiling and editorializing. It's good though.
Yeah, I don't have more to say about ZRS this week. I don't know. I went up 4 points when I got seventh in my community race today. I will say, like, if you want the community racing update, I fell off that hard once we got into November. Like it got too samey. Like this isn't. I don't want this to be negative feedback, maybe, because I thought the whole project was a good idea. But like when I have done like Coastal Crown Loop and I don't know, going coastal and Innsbruck Ring last week, and I look at what the community racing events are, and that's going coastal and Innsbruck Ring and going coastal again. I'm like, maybe I won't race another 5 community races this week.
Yeah,
So
I know James has tried to spread the same course that got picked by several clubs over the weeks. Because there were some that picked the same course or 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure they
yeah,
did. The problem was is like they made the guidelines of what would be a good course for community racing like relatively narrow, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
there's only maybe a dozen courses that fit within those guidelines, and there was 35 events, so they were going to repeat.
yep,
yeah, or everyone picks the popular courses. So that's why I went with Richmond Roller Coaster, because it's not that often used for a race. So yeah, try to do a little bit different. Still something that's a good race course, but not something that everyone will pick. So it will be a unique one. But not every club was thinking the same way.
And ZRL updates. Who raced ZRL last week? This week on Tuesday.
Yeah, it was a
Oh,
good
yeah.
race.
Sean,
Yeah,
how'd you make
I
out?
did.
It
uh,
was points.
so, Craig and I've been cajoling Craig into helping us make numbers, and we both
yeah.
finished in that front group. But that was it was a hard race.
It was
That was
points on
hard.
turf and surf, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so Turf and Surf is a fun ZRL race, I think, with the uh, those 2 5-ish minute climbs, including the
the
like
finish.
pain
Yeah,
caves to the finish.
Hmm.
That's the longest 5 minutes of my life every time I do a race in there.
I think somebody said that on Discord while we were climbing.
Ewan was
Oh,
Yeah, it
like,
was Ewan, yeah.
when does this end?
when
At
you
the
what
sprint
a minute
for the
after you fall
finish.
off the pack, in my experience.
Yeah. No, so I just died at the end. And Ewan did too. So Ewan and I were the last two of the front 11, I think it was. We
I think
were
that 20 something in our group.
or
Yeah.
21, yeah.
Yeah.
We were 20 and 21, I think, were Ewan and I. So yeah, I mean it was a big group, really.
And it did get raced interestingly. There were attacks going pretty much the
Yeah.
whole race off the front of that front group.
Yeah. And I mean, so I did pretty well on the sprint on the top of Shisa, which I mean is kind of in my wheelhouse. But yeah, that sprint on the top of Shisa is evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not in my wheelhouse, and our race was so tame up to that point that somehow I just missed scoring a point on the coming through the
Ah,
main. I was
Well,
21st across the line, and but that our I don't know, we didn't spit out more than a third of the pack before we got there, and then it really stretched it out.
so I think I was fourth of the lead group as far as time through Shisa, but I think some guys further back pipped me and I only got 4 points. But
Hmm.
Our Mustangs got sixth and seventh FAL on the alley.
nice.
No, or no, fastest through, pardon me.
Oh, oh,
So
Oh, just missed it.
Bupkis missed the
Yep.
points by 2 places.
yeah.
So that was too bad.
Yeah, that the alley sprint right out of the gate is with points is always a fun start. Like we got into
Yeah.
the pens and it's like, all right,
This isn't
remind
gonna
yourself
end.
that this first like 90 seconds is going to be brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I didn't feel good the whole I stayed with the front. I did pretty well on the Shisa sprint, but I didn't feel good right from the start and right to the end. But
Hmm.
I was just good enough to stay in that top 20. But yeah, no, it's a tough course to race like that. It's not a hard course to ride, but it's a tough course to race.
Yeah, I mean you're getting yourself like starting with a pretty close to capacitive effort if you want to get points on the alley sprint. Like
Yeah.
yeah, you have a lot of recovery time, but like depending on how deep you went, you may not get back to full recovery. And then by the time you're getting close, you got another 5 minute climb with a sprint at the end. So you're really
Yeah.
hurting at that point. And then you've got,
You do it again.
only a few more minutes until you got that like finish climb. It's a fun course.
Yep.
yeah, we did that the day before on ladder race as a course.
How did it go
It'll
with
be the
ladder? 'Cause
ladder
that's such
one
a
too,
smaller
yeah.
group. Yeah, like that there's not so much draft once you can shake some bodies in that tunnel.
I think, yeah, for whatever reason, the group broke apart on that ramp after Ali sprint. We broke in two groups with three of us and two of them, and then our little, I think the front group kind of at the front, two of our guys, including Steve, dropped along the way. So it was just one of our guys versus two of their guys. And at the back, it was two of us and three of them. And I think on the McIsle, just not the McIsle climb, but the other direction, you have a bit of a kicker when you go into that finishing area of the McIsle loop. Two guys kicked it. One of my other teammates was able to respond. I was with another guy. Technically I have Swift play controllers, but they were acting up, so I had no steering. So the other guy just steered the whole way, the whole time to the other side of the road, so we couldn't get. So I couldn't get into the draft, and basically On the Shisa climb, he just rode away from me just before, yeah, and right before that, he steered away from me, so couldn't respond. So, yeah. Oh, well.
Good stuff. All right. I think that's all that's on the docket for this week. So with that, we will say thank you to John Keenan. Thank you to Craig Martin. Thank you to Maryline DeVleger. Thank you to Steph Etchen. Thank you to Sean Fogenberg. Thank you to all of you listening at home. Enjoy your races, everybody. Moo and good night.
Night.